Okay, we're in Yaakov. Please like this channel, give it a thumbs up, and you have to subscribe, of course, and that way I'll always be on the top. The question on the table is, why is the Gemara interested in, you said, physiological,
the human body and its
human body and functions, and how we what we discussed last week, the person who urinates before his bed naked, or why we move bed, why in the case of Reuven, where he moved his father's bed, is considered as if it was committing adultery with the wife, right? That's what stepmother, so on and so forth. I think what you have to say is that there's a multi-level answer. One, the simple answer is that the Torah is a guidebook of our life, which means nothing is off limits. Everything, we have to look at everything, including how to anticipate what people are going to think by our actions, even if our actions are innocent, even if our actions are in our minds what need to be done. The case of Reuven moving his stepmother's bed out of his father's tent in defense of his mother. So the Torah says that's wrong, even though you didn't do anything in reality wrong. You didn't, in other words, you didn't really have sex with her. And so yet the Torah makes it look like that in so many cases, that it doesn't, we need to see, and for that, by the way, Reuven should have spoken with his father in a nice manner, but or got guidance from other people as to what to do. You don't just act as a what's it called, rogue. You don't just act rogue. Okay, that would be the first lesson. Another thing is that whenever the Gemara starts talking about things like we're talking about right now, again, people urinating in front of the bed naked, we're saying what you shouldn't do because we're supposed to be a holy nation. As a holy nation, even in our private places, we have an obligation to act appropriately and to do something, assuming nobody's going to see it. Okay, God is always around. God sees everything. So we always have to realize that we're in the presence of the Holy One, blessed be He. So that is why many times things that we would consider, does God really care? The next case here. If I wash my hands correctly, the answer is yes, God does. I remember there was a congregant who once said to me when I was a congregant. I was fixing. You're supposed to put your tefillin right here, not in the movies. The movies say here, right? If you watch any movie, it's going to be here because of the line between your eyes. Okay, so the movie always have it here, right? And but anybody who knows halacha knows it means the hairline or where the hairline was, back to where the soft spot in the head of the baby. So you have a little bit, but it's right here in the middle. Okay, fine. So one person never really cared because he put it on only to satisfy me, not for anything else. He didn't hold whatever. He wasn't religious. He really didn't hold by it. He's putting it on to. So I would come over to him and always straighten out the tefillin. So he said, "Do you really think that God cares about where my tefillin are?" To which I said, "Of course He does. That's why He sent me over." Okay, it was a joke, but yes, God does care about these things. So here when we're looking at all these things and we're learning what the rabbis are trying to impress upon us, it's not just the we want to control your life situation. It's a matter of we're trying to tell you that all these things do matter. What even the slightest thing that you do is going to impact on the rest of your life. Similarly to if I shoot the rocket up and I'm a little bit off on my trajectory, I'm going to crash. Right? You're going to crash. If you hit the planet at the wrong angle, you're going to burn up. And that everything has to be perfect. So also that within the Torah, the rabbis were trying to impress upon us via these stories how much we have to be cognizant of the fact that if I go a little bit off, okay, so today it's a little bit, but tomorrow is going to be a major move. because as I keep going, I get crookeder and crookeder, if that's a word. I keep going crooked, so then it's very hard to correct. And by the way, I don't know, I guess everything's beshit in the world. So I was hearing somebody address the Democrats this morning. I heard the radio, and he was saying, in the Democratic place, he said, socialism is not the answer. And he got booed. I heard that. I was saying, what kind of nonsense is this? You're Democrats, you're not socialists. Socialists is a different party. But they were booing him. And I was thinking, wow, how far the left has become that they're booing what normally would be cheered. Of course, it's not going to be socialist, right? But now it's just accepted that we have to have free this, free that, and blah, 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 whatever. And we'll become another Venezuela. And will become broken, so on and so forth. It's just an insanity where if it would be Socialist Party and the guy would say, we have to be Democratic, I would understand the booze, but you're going to a Democratic Party and you're saying we shouldn't be socialists and you're getting booed. It doesn't make any sense to me. Who spoke? Who was it?
It was a former governor of Colorado.
There you go. There you go. But it was just amazing to me. And again, that's when you get a little bit off and that's what the rabbis are warning us here. You get a little bit off, and then what happens is you find yourself 3 miles away from the original position. And then to get back there is extremely difficult, or so we believe, by the way. I mean, again, that's part of the Yetzer Hara too. The Yetzer Hara says that once I've gone that far, there's no way I can get back. The answer is, of course you can. It's just a matter of moving back. It's just a matter of turning your steering wheel just a little bit, and you'll get back there too. My father used to travel on the highways when he would go to work. And in those days, while speed limit was 55, I'm guessing, my father had to get to work. So, and in the morning, he said, on the highways, in the morning at around 6 in the morning, you have professional drivers, as compared to Sunday, as compared to the Sunday morning driver. Sunday morning driver is the guy with no place to get there and all day to get no place to go and all day to get there. But in the morning, you had to get to work, so you're driving at, even though again speed limit is 55, you're driving maybe 70, 80, okay. And he said, when you're driving that quickly, if you turn your steering wheel like you would when you're driving 30, you're going to crash and burn.
Yeah, I heard the same thing about Indianapolis race cars.
Right. Oh. So he said, when you're traveling that quickly, you have to, it's a slight turn. He wanted to train us because he didn't know what we were going to do. He didn't know we were going to be rabbis who walk from one house to the next. There's really no varying at that point. Okay? But it was an amazing thing that he was teaching me, that it just, when you're going that quick, just a little bit, as opposed to when I'm going slow, I have to make a major turn. Well, that's the same thing with tshuva. When people are going quick, they're becoming religious quickly, everything is just a little bit of a tweak, and next thing you know, you're there. As opposed to the person who's taking his time, he's going to make bigger strides. It's going to be a harder turn, if you will, but he'll get the same place. By the way, just for my edification, for the world out there, the best way is a slow way. The best way is not to jump into it. Because the guy who jumps into it, as my father said, a little more, and you turn over and crash. So you have to be very careful when you're making those quick jumps. Okay, that's for all the Bali Tshuva out there. Be careful. Okay.
That announcement this morning is exactly the next line that he said was that we're not the Socialist Party. And if you go, the traditional wisdom is during a primary, you either go further to the left or further to the right, and then come back to the center for the regular election. But if you go too far, you can't get back. So it's good illustration.
Right. Okay, so now that's where we are. We're on page 62b3, and we're talking about the second. Rava discusses the second cause of poverty. Again, if I don't show respect to this, then it could potentially bring about poverty. It doesn't guarantee that poverty will follow is just one of the things that we're talking about. Okay, it's you have it 62b3.
Yeah, I'm looking for something else. Where were the three things listed initially that were here, right here?
Right.
Oh no, wait a minute. The three things that brings a person to poverty. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Like that. Now we're doing the hands.
Right. So we did the one who urinated before his bed naked. Now we're doing the washing the hands lightly, and the third one being cursed by his wife in his own presence. Okay. So here we go. And regarding one who treats the mitzvah of washing the hands lightly, Amar Rava said, Lo Amran, we did not say that this leads to poverty. Ella to lo masha yedei klal, except where he doesn't wash his hands at all. Of all masha v'lo masha, but where he does wash his hands, although he does not wash them well, late Laban, we have no objection to it. So what's going on there? He uses only a small amount of water, a revi'at, the minimum required to satisfy the obligation, which is not enough for a thorough washing. So here he's cutting on the very edge of halacha. He doesn't do the mitzvah in the best possible way. So fine, he did it. He washed his hands. This could be for bread. It could be after he leaves the toilet. We have to wash our hands a lot of different times in a ritual manner. Okay? And so I'm not sure which one he's referring. He's probably referring to bread, if I would have to guess. I don't think we said before. 8:30, does he say it? Oh, before eating the meal. Yes, he did say it. Okay, it's before eating the meal. So when you're eating the meal, what you do, by the way, is there's an argument as to how many times, but you take your cup, you fill the cup with your right hand, you hold it in your right hand while you're filling the cup. Then when it's filled, you put it to your left hand. Then you pour it twice or three times over by stopping it once, twice. Okay, so it fills the whole hand, washes the entire hand. Some people go for just the knuckles, but really here, what we're talking about is, and that would be the halacha, by the way, the knuckles, and then you have your hands up after you
haven't cleaned the left hand yet.
No, it's fine. Then you take it in the right hand, pour it over your left, twice or three times.
First.
Yes, always the right first.
And this has to do with what you said about the right side is supposed to be the nice side and the left is the strong side. Yeah.
The right side is the strong side, the one of strength.
Yeah.
So that's why it says God has his outstretched arm, which we know to be the right. And then also when he was with the Kohanim, the priests, they had to do the service with their right hand. They said that straight out in the Torah.
Service.
You're right. So they had to do slaughtering and all these things with their right hand. So
when they do the blessing, that's two hands.
No, the blessing is something else. So when they had to cut when they were slaughtering, when they would sprinkle the blood, that had to be with the right hand, and even a left-hander couldn't do it because their left hand is not the right hand. So on and so forth. It's a whole Gemara, but that is a spiritual type of strength. Okay, that was given to it by the Torah.
And what's the significance of either 2 or 3, and why is there a choice?
The reason there's a difference is the first time you're washing, you're getting the tuma off, the spiritual impurity. Okay, so now the second time is just would be just ensuring, I guess, that you got it. And then those who hold 3, Lubavitch are the ones who hold 3. They go. It's based, I think, on Tosfot. It's just one more. To be careful. Okay. But they would hold you up to 3. They teach the kids 3. So other people hold 2. Whatever, either 1 or 2. But the point is, by the way, it's not putting your hands under the faucet and washing. It's not a physical cleansing. It's spiritual cleansing. That's very important to note. If your hands are dirty, you can't do Nitzvah to die.
Is only water used?
For the spiritual one?
For the 2 or the 3?
Yes.
Of the whole thing?
No.
From the time you pick it up to the time you put it down?
That's water.
Only?
As opposed to?
Soap?
No, that's what I'm saying. Your hands must be clean before you wash them. If your hands are not clean before you wash them, then you haven't done anything. If my hands are full of grease or whatever, then I cannot do Netilat Yadayim. Netilat Yadayim is, again, washing your hands is a spiritual cleansing.
All right, so that this business...
This is talking about washing your hands in a spiritual manner.
But this presumes then that you will have cleansed them for hygienic
Yes,
purposes
yes.
before this starts.
Yes. That's my point. Yes. Yes. Whenever we're washing, we leave the bathroom, our hands, we have to wash them the way we would wash them. Soap, not soap, I don't care how you're doing it. That's up to you. You're hygienics. But if you're going, they have to be clean. If they're soiled by something, you cannot wash your hands in this manner and say, I've done something. Okay? This is, again, that would come from after you get your haircut, you have to wash your hands. After you have sexual relations, you have to wash your hands in a spiritual manner. You have to, after you're, before you eat, you have to wash your hands. When you wake up in the morning, you have to wash your hands.
Always in this two business.
Well, no, only for bread. For bread is 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. For every other time, it's alternate. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. I don't know why, but that because I know you're going to come with why. I don't know.
No, I'm not. I'm just gonna. It's just funny. And
Right.
There's no why.
Well, there is a why, but I don't know it offhand. So I when I know, but I don't. But it's like this. Every other time is 1, 2. When I have a haircut, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. If I get again after sex, whatever, same thing. The only time I wash 1, 2, 1, 2 is before bread. It's the only time. Okay. So Vlav Miltihi, but this is not correct. The Amar Rav Chisda, for Rav Chisda said, Ana Mashayim Elo Chafne Maya, I wash my hands with full handfuls of water. And I have been given handfuls of prosperity. So he says, in the merit of washing his hands with a generous amount of water, Rav Chisda was granted prosperity, since he enhanced his performance of the precautions requiring before eating food. He was blessed with an abundance of food. Rav Chisda implies that the more water one uses, the more one will be blessed. He thus contradicts Rav's statement, but where he does wash his breads, although he does not wash them well, we have no objection to it, which indicates that one has nothing to lose by using the minimum amount of water. However, to avoid poverty, Rav Chisda could well agree that using the minimum suffices. Hence, he would agree that the aforementioned teaching, 3 things cause poverty, treating the mitzvah of washing hands lightly, applies only to one who uses less than the minimum, as Rava stated. Now, let's understand. A revi'at is 3.5 ounces to 5 ounces tops.
What is?
What the measure of a revi'at is only going to be 3.5 to 5 ounces. That range.
And that's a unit of measure?
A revi'at is a quarter, so the quarter of a log. So, which is all sorts of measures. But if you update that today, if you put into what we not update, but if you put into what we understand, is 3.5 ounces to up to 5 ounces. There's an argument. Some people say 3.5, some people say 5. Fine. So you have that variance. So let's say it's not much water we're talking about. Okay, if you think about what we talk, when we fill up that cup outside, that's much more than 5 ounces. That,
2 handles on it.
yeah, that must be a good 2 cups worth. Probably 16, 20 ounces to that thing. What are you looking for?
I thought maybe I'd seen one in here.
No, we don't have one here.
Yeah.
We have a tzedakah box here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we certainly go with Rav Chisda. We want all the money. We're using the water like crazy, but that's what he. So it's interesting. Now, if you look at the philosophy of what's going on here, okay, philosophy is very simple. That if I do the mitzvah, if I don't do the mitzvah, or if I treat the mitzvah lightly, so then Hashem will want to give me a wake-up call, and He does that in various ways. One is He attacks something outside of me. Normally, the first thing He'll do is attack my money, because that's outside, and I care about it. So why am I losing money? right? Everybody cares about money. Money makes the world go round, blah, 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 all the wonderful stuff all the songs that go with it. Okay, so either Hashem does that, or He hits our possessions, one way or another, and that's when anything happens to us, the first thing we should think about is, to what do I owe the pleasure? Okay, what did I do wrong? That should be our first reaction. Hashem, what are you telling me? Don't call it a happenstance. Don't say, oh, it just happened. I was filling the car up yesterday. Okay? And what happened was I bought some stuff to put in the gas. I forget what it's called. I forget. It's you put into the gas tank, so that it's supposed to clean out your injectors, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. What happened was, and you always have to be careful with this stuff, because they make this stupid thing so small. Yeah, they make it small, and you have to, and by the time you rip it off, it's all over the place. Fine. So I was being careful with it, and what happened? I have a cut. I didn't realize I had a cut, and it spilled on my hands. Well, it burned. It burned. I mean,
class action lawsuit if ever there was one.
Okay, let's go for it. But it burned. Okay, and so I realized, I have a cut. It was very interesting. I didn't know I had a cut. But what happens? I could have said, what dumb luck. So I said, but I didn't. I said, thank you for the kapara. Thank you for the atonement. I don't know what I did, but thank you for the atonement.
Yeah, see, last week when I was sick and I had to tell you that I was almost afraid to tell you that I was sick because clearly I messed up someplace.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you for not asking me. What did you do wrong?
There, I said, that's not for me to ask. That's for you to ask. Okay?
I'm better now.
Baruch Hashem.
So I must not be doing it anymore.
Yes, Hashem. Okay. So the point is that when something happens, we shouldn't just say it just happens. That's denying God. The minute you say happenstance, you denied God. God runs the entire system. So whatever happens is from God. If I have that in mind, so now what happens is God said to, well, He didn't really say go wash your hands. This is a rabbinic situation, but God gave the rabbis the authority, so there. Once you say that, the rabbis told us to wash our hands, prepare for what we're doing. If I treat that mitzvah lightly, Hashem has to throw something at me to wake me up. Otherwise, there's a consequence, right? That was a complaint about, we had the meeting here, and they were about what the kids can't do, so they made a whole chart of what how the kids can't do certain things. And one of the women told me that she went up to the person who made the chart and said, it's a wonderful chart, but it won't work. Why won't it work? Because there are no consequences. You didn't say what the consequences are. So now, what do they care? You say, don't do it, we'll do it. Who cares? What do you get? There's nothing there. There's no bite. So that again, Hashem is giving us consequences. And He wants to wake us up. So what He does is He says, okay, if you don't listen to what the rabbis, who I said could be my policemen, who I said could make the fences, so then what you have is we have to do something, so there has to be consequences. Fine. So at the same time, by the way, consequences are not always negative. You can have positive. Consequences are parv in reality.
What did you mean just now when you said something about the rabbi being the policeman?
I'm saying God gave the rabbis the authority to make fences around the law. Thus, they are the policemen of the Torah, if you will. They make the laws. They'll tell you how to enforce the law.
As a rabbi, how do you feel about that?
Wonderful. I love the power. I love the power. Okay.
Do you feel right doing it? I mean,
it's not a matter of me doing it. It's a matter of you're following the system. Again,
it's to reduce the role.
No, it's not reducing the role. It's an enforcement. You're trying to enforce what God wants. So I don't teach and enforce. Again, as a parent, I have to police my kids. I don't think. Again, the word in your mind may have negative connotations. In my mind, it doesn't have negative connotations. Words are parv. I've said this 1,000 times. Words are totally parv. It's what you make from the words. If you decide that that's a negative word, so you're going to hear that and bells will go off. Okay, but I'm not using the negative manner. I'm using the positive manner. Again, so there's consequences. So if you have the negative consequence if I don't listen is Hashem will punch me in one way or another. The other one is if I follow it. So now there's two levels to following. Do I just do the law, or do I go beyond the law? Example, the speed limit is 65. Okay? Do I go, speed limit, by the way. I want to hear the word, speed limit. Doesn't mean, if it's speed limit is 65 by the law, definition of law, it doesn't mean 66. It also doesn't mean I can't go slower than 65. It doesn't mean I have to stay at 65. That's the speed limit. If I want to be safe, I would go 63. And then I'm within the law. At the same time, I have to understand there is a limit to that too. I can't go 30 in a 65 mile an hour zone. I can only go 45. So if I go 44, I'm breaking the same law. Right? If you're on the highway, if you go 44 miles an hour.
Sometimes there's a posted minimum speed.
Oh, but you don't have. They don't have to.
But it's also.
It's understood.
Limit.
What? Right, but
it's a minimum or a maximum.
Correct. Correct. But I'm saying it's understood. It's understood. If I have a 65, that means 45 is my lowest. I can't go 30 if it's an open road free. Okay, if it's traffic, it doesn't matter what you say. But it's but I have that, so it doesn't mean I can go slower. It also doesn't mean I should go 100 miles an hour. That sort of thing. All right, we have those limits. So if I really want to be the best possible way, like I said, I'm going to go like 63, which is not slow. It's also not crazy. And I don't have to look for the cops. I don't have to keep my radar on. I don't need ways saying, police up ahead. I don't need that because I'm within the frame. So here the same thing. While it says you should use more water, it doesn't mean you should waste water. That also is beyond. I need 20 ounces. No, now you're wasting my water. Water's a precious commodity, precious resource, not commodity. Precious resource. You don't waste it. So that's what I'm saying. If you respect it on either side, that's when it's going to work. Okay? Now, the third cause. Regarding a woman regarding one whose wife curses him in his presence. Rava said, Al iske tachshiteha. The case is that she curses him concerning matters of her adornments, for not providing her with adornments. Adornments. Her jewelry. The
idea.
What?
The idea. Is that all she has to think about?
Part of your agreement when you marry a woman, you have responsibilities. One is clothes, jewelry, food, insurance, and so on and so forth. So you have all these things. So if you're not treating her, fulfilling your part of the argument of the agreement, so then, and she's going to curse you on that. We didn't finish it. We're just in the middle of, but he's explaining that. But that you broke the contract. So she's cursing you for that. So let's finish off before we go before we get into this. This teaching, namely that such curse causes poverty, applies only where he has enough money to buy the adornments for her. But he does not do so. So since he does not take care of his wife's needs, his needs will not be provided for, and he will be reduced to poverty. Again, we're talking about a person who has, and she doesn't want to fulfill his part of the deal. So Hashem is going to take it so that he doesn't make it so that he doesn't have it. We're not talking about a person who the wife says, "I want the city, the tiara that had the city of Yerushalayim in gold, and I don't have the money for that. Leave me alone. I don't have. But if, on the other hand, if you are Donald Trump or Bill Gates or any one of these other mega rich people, and your wife says, honey, I'd like to buy that, and he suddenly says, oh, we don't have the money. What are you talking about, the money? You crazy? You pish that money away. Okay? And so she curses him. Okay? So you're in trouble. It's going to cause poverty because you didn't live up to your part of the agreement. It's not a matter, again, that's really what we're looking at, agreements. You didn't live up to your word. You said you would do this. We're obligated to Baruch Hashem. Our wives don't read the ketubah, but we're obligated to buy her new clothes every single one of the Shlosh Galim. So she has 3 times to go out and get clothes on us, and as part of the bargain, as it were. That's what they get for. They have their duties, we have ours. By the way, the biggest thing is we have to buy. We have to insure them. You have to give them insurance. So we were the first people before the United States came along with single health and all this other stuff. We had to insure our wives. We had to make sure that their health was covered. We had to take care of that.
Who sold the Jerusalem Mutual?
Whatever you did. In other words, that was part of the. If your wife would get sick, you had to pay the doctor. It wasn't on her.
I could see by extension, this could go to other things. Like if you're not doing mitzvot,
right?
You're being cheap and you're not fulfilling obligations and tithes and.
Right. Well, tithes, we say that all the time. We say if you don't give your proper tithing,
then it's going to be reduced.
Right. God looks at what you gave. If you gave let's say you're making $100,000 a year, so you owe $10,000 to God, right? And you decide I only want to give $3,000. So God says, "Oh, that's all you want to give me." That means next year you get $30,000. Yeah. That's all you get because you didn't want to give it. So you have to give 10%. So obviously you didn't want that $100,000 I was giving you.
You couldn't handle it.
You couldn't handle it. Fine. So I'll reduce it, and you'll be in good shape. You want to say, Steve? Go ahead. What do you want to argue?
I started to say before, I'm not. Once you already started the third reason, I'm not done with the second reason.
I'm sorry. What's wrong with the second?
That's what I wasn't. And what I wasn't done with was the idea that how washing hands haphazardly or incorrectly might lead to poverty is because it indicates that you take a half-hearted approach to the things you're doing. This has nothing to do with the amount of water you use because that's a hygienic cleanse. You need just this, for a spiritual cleansing, which is what this is. If you do a half-hearted effort for that, doesn't matter you're not measuring water, you're measuring fervor. And when you measure fervor by ritual, if you take a half-hearted approach to that, it means you're cutting corners in other areas of your life. Okay. Which could then lead to poverty. This has nothing to do with the amount of water you use.
So again, I hear what you're saying.
How much water you use is the first wash.
No. I hear what you're saying, and what I'm saying to you is yes or no. Yes, you are taking a haphazard approach, and no, I disagree with you that the amount of water is very important
for a spiritual cleansing.
Yes.
Why?
Because that is what was required. That's the point. The rabbi said you have to use
3.5 to 5 ounce.
You have to have that much in order to do it properly. If you do anything less, you're not doing it. You won't have the ability to do it properly.
And that is on each pouring, on each of 2 or 3. How many?
No, 3.5. 3.5 5 would be total. So the point is, they knew how much would be necessary. So for you to argue and say I could be conserving and do less, so you're showing your lack of respect for them and their teachings, which means you're showing that, which is, again, once you veer off, ultimately you're going to say, well, God doesn't know what he really wants. What God really cares? And the answer is yes, and that's why the rabbis made these fences, and that's and so on and so forth. So it goes back to what I was saying on Shabbos, okay? In the Torah, it talks about this past week's parsha, Bichukotai, talks about all the curses that we're going to get when we don't follow God's laws. And so it gives 7 reasons. Rashi, the rabbis bring down 7 reasons why for the 7 curses, which ultimately come to be 49. 7 times we have 7 times. Okay, so it's 49. And so the first thing is you stop learning. The first reason is we stop learning Torah. Okay, then what happens is you stop learning Torah. So now you don't like people who, I'm not getting this in the correct order, but you don't like people who teach Torah, you don't like, and so on and so forth, until ultimately you're denying the commandments and ultimately you deny God. Okay, it's a slow progression, but that's what happens. Once I stop studying, I start saying, well, this isn't important, that's not important, and what do I care, and so on. And these rabbis are just making laws up to bother me, and who made these laws up anyway, and there's no God. God couldn't do blank, whatever, okay? So now, in order to reverse that, I have to go back. And now what do? And this is what my point on Shabbos was. I don't start with learning Torah. I start with, I have to have a belief in God. Because if I don't believe in God, then everything falls apart. Right? If we could sit here.
Well, it either falls apart or there's nothing to piece together.
Whichever way you want to look at that. We could sit here all day and learn all day. But if you don't have a foundation of why you're learning, even if you know it by heart, it means nothing. And I can prove this to you. I can prove it to you. I think I said this on Shabbos too. Or I said many times. I had a teacher who literally wrote the book on food science and nutrition. And he was fat. And I don't know if he smoked or not, but I can guarantee he didn't follow his book. Okay? I had gym teachers who were fat. Again, I had doctors who were fat. They smoked and drank and did whatever they wanted to do. You have people who tell you, all the gurus who tell you how to save your money. They're going out gambling and throwing the money away. You guys are insane. You don't listen to yourselves. Okay? And so that's really, why is it true? Because they didn't buy the system. They wrote a book. In order for the system to work, I have to buy the initial part of that system. In other words, in order for religion to work, I have to buy God. I have to buy into I have to buy it, internalize. Fine. I was going to say I have to buy into the idea and the reality that there is a God. Once I do that, once I admit there's a God in the world, now it's a matter of me saying, okay, if there's a God in the world and God created all this, and I can see that he did because of how it works so beautifully, blah, 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 okay, would he just leave us without an instruction booklet? After all, I buy a lawnmower and I get an instruction booklet.
I used to write instructions.
There you go. And you're an instruction booklet writer. Every single thing I get, including a toy, including a toothbrush, has instructions on it.
Or at least warnings, yeah.
Instructions, how to use it. Okay? Besides, you shouldn't, and then also warnings. You have this hair dryer, do not use in the shower. Like, you people are really insane. Okay.
Do not use while standing in water.
Right. Okay, fine.
Your finger in a light socket.
Right, okay. But you have all these things. So if we need instruction on that, would it make sense that the creator of the universe would put us here without an instruction booklet? The answer is no, it's not logical. So therefore, he gave us an instruction booklet. Oh, so it must be the Torah. Great. Okay. And I build that slowly.
It didn't come along till a little bit later, though. There were people before the rules came
No,
along.
the rules were always here. They weren't written down.
Right.
That's the answer to that. Adam had rules. Chava had rules. They all had rules. We were given more rules, but it's at Sinai. But it was always there. The system was always there. It didn't have to be written down at a certain point, and only later would have to be written down. But and I'm talking about from God. God first, it was 7 laws. You don't have to write 7 laws. It doesn't.
It was what?
It was only 7 laws originally. So we went to 613. When 613, you have to write down.
I never heard there were only 7.
There's no Noahide commandments. There are only 7. Noahide.
I'd like to learn what they are sometime, not now.
Okay, but the Noahide laws are that's for mankind. There's only 7. We had a class tonight here. Actually, it's not online. It was before I was going online, but that I'm sure there are classes online, but not for me. But it's So the non-Jews have every non-Jew in the world is called a Ben Noach. So there are laws for the Ben Noach, 7 in total. And then we have the Jews 613. So when it came to the Torah, God had to write down the reason, well, not the reasons, but the story behind it, and then the laws. And that's what we have. If you look at our Torah, Leviticus is chock full of laws about sacrifices and so on and so forth. So, but there are 613 altogether that we as Jews, only Jews, have. The non-Jews remain there 7. And again, they're written down, but it actually comes from one verse, 3 verses in Genesis. So it's
7 come from that.
Yeah. So that's where it's coming from. It's in Genesis. But it's, like I said, but that's, everything has, so once I get to that level, that I accept that God gave the Torah, so now God wouldn't give a Torah without teachers. You understand, I'm building back up, right? So now, obviously, we have to respect the teachers, and so on and so forth, until finally I have the skills to go through those. But once I've built myself up to go through to get to that level, I'm going to keep it, right? It's like if I, to go the other way, if a person is broke, and what they do, they're financially strapped. So what they do, they buy the book from Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover. I think that's what it's called. I'm advertising. I must be an affiliate marketer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Total Money Makeover. That's what it's called, right? So what happens is, he says in his book, introduction, if you don't follow my book exactly, it won't work. I feel like saying, what are you, God? You don't follow exactly, it won't work. It will work. Even if I don't follow exactly. It won't work as well, but it'll work. Okay, but that's what it really comes down to. If you buy my theory, follow it exactly. I'm a franchise. Follow it exactly, and it's going to work for you really well, really not, and in this sort of manner. If you don't follow it, and you're going to go off the wagon every once in a while, well, you're not really going to accomplish much. So that's the same thing, again, with religion. God says, buy my book, buy my system, and you will be happy. If you don't buy my system, the whole thing, lock, stock, and barrel, it may work, it may not work. I can't guarantee these. I can't guarantee results because you're not playing by the rules of the book. Play by the rules of the book. I guarantee you that what's best for you will happen.
You will make money and astound your friends.
There you go. God doesn't guarantee that, but okay. Astound your friends, God guarantees. Okay. Okay.
I interrupted. Do you want to go back to the third one again? Or do you want to?
No, the third one was, again, if she curses him in his presence because he didn't give her the jewelry, which he could have afforded, so then Hashem is going to take away his money because he didn't fulfill his obligations. So you didn't fulfill it. You claimed you didn't have the money. Good. Now I'll make that true. I don't want to make you a liar.
Are you familiar with the Rembrandt painting called The Jewish Bride?
No.
Do you know it?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it for a while, but she looks like she is well adorned, not overly done, but she looks like somebody cares for her.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. So there you go. So now the Gemara presents a phrase-by-phrase interpretation of the scriptural verse, which rebukes Jewish women for flaunting their beauty. Okay, so it says, Darash, Ravi Braid, Ravi Eli. So Rav, the son of Ravi Eli, expounded, what's the meaning of the verse? When it's written, Vayomer Hashem Ya'an ki gavhu benot Zion. You're right there.
Oh, no, I'm just...
Okay. Hashem said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, which is, he says, God warns them. God warns that because these women are haughty, they will be punished with the afflictions enumerated in the following verses. Means that they would walk with erect posture, which means, fine, let's go on. Walking with outstretched necks. This means that they would walk with short steps, putting the heel of one foot next to the big toe of the other. And he said they would walk slowly so people would gaze at them, like the models who walk down the runway. Okay.
Yeah.
This interpretation is related to the words of the verse, walking with outstretched necks, because one who walks with his neck outstretched proceeds slowly and deliberately, since he cannot see his feet. And with gazing eyes, and so, which means they would fill their eyes with makeup and beckon to the young men. The word, okay, so it says that the women would cast their eyes at the men in a beckoning manner. Haloch v'tafof, they floated as they walked. Shemahalchot Arucha b'tzad kisara. This means that tall women would walk next to short women. What would that do? They would walk, so the taller woman would appear to float above the shorter one, thus enhancing her attractiveness. The verse speaks of this disparagingly because it refers to married women. For a single woman who is seeking a husband, such behavior is not always inappropriate. Okay. Say it again?
There's a double negative in it. It's not always inappropriate.
All right, sometimes appropriate. Okay. And then it says, Raglehan, Ta'akasna, and with their feet they would spew venom. So Amar Rav Yitzchak Devei Rav Yami, what does that mean? Malamed Shematilot Mor V'Parsamon V'Nalehem. They would put myrrh and balsam into their shoes, Mahalcha Bashoke Yerushalayim, and they would walk in the marketplace of Yerushalayim. V'cheven Shmagiyot Eitzav Bechore Yisrael, and when they reached the unmarried Jewish youths, Bo'atot B'Karka, they would stamp on the ground, Matizot Alehem, and spray the perfumes over them. Umachniso Behem Yisahara, Keres B'Kaus, driving the evil inclination into them like the venom of an angry snake. She says the snake's venom is called okay, fine. But what's happening here is that the point is that women are getting the guy's attention, and they're causing the Yetzer Hara to arise in them, which is why the Torah, which is why the Gemara is saying that the Jewish woman being rebuked for flaunting their beauty. Because that's not, women, and by the way, the whole philosophy here is women are supposed to be modest, which is why they dress in today's standards with their below their elbows. It can't be anything, it shouldn't be above their elbows. They shouldn't show their knees. They should wear stockings, not just bare legs. There's a whole bunch of laws that go into what modesty would mean today. And let's understand something too. Modesty changes with the era that we're in. In other words, today's women, no matter how modestly they dress, would be considered inappropriately dressed if I go back to the 1920s or 30s or even 50s.
50s.
Even 50s. So, I mean, today's women would be considered ladies of the evening. Again,
all day long.
All day long.
Swimsuits.
Right. So it's not the same as I should say. It changes with society, and we have to understand that. So, in what we're looking at here, but nonetheless, if I'm walking, if a woman is since a woman is supposed to be modest, when she jumps out of that role and causes people to notice her in an inappropriate manner, to think of things that they should not be thinking of, that is when she is being rebuked for her behavior. We'll have to stop here.
You have a bit of a problem being from Boston. You were trying to pronounce the word haughty, and the truth is, with your accent, it comes out hotty. It's a bit of a problem for you.
Okay. I accept the criticism.
Especially